How did Ethan come out of that?
Ethan Fournette?
Yeah.
Good. We'll see what he can do today, but he's going to attempt to do something.
It's like ankle, lower leg.
We'll see what he can do today.
Did you talk to Dory about that hurdle and trying to avoid plays like that?
We always talk to our guys about making proper decisions, in that situation. He's done that before because of his athleticism, but that wasn't the right maneuver at the right time, so we'll cover that. There's also some ball security issues when you do that, when the ball's getting away from your body, so we got to make sure we secure the football. We did a good job. We didn't lose any, but there were some times where the ball was exposed, and we were fortunate that we didn't get in trouble for it. So.
You say the best ability is availability, right? So you don't want him to put
everybody says that. Yeah, we don't want to put. No one wants to put themselves in harm's way. So we got to protect ourselves, and we got to protect the football.
Jeff, what would you say to the fan base about encouraging them to come out for the big game this week?
Yeah, I think it's a huge game. You get an opportunity to see a really, really good football team in LSU. And obviously, I think we're off to a good start. So it should be a great game. It's picked as I think it's one of the feature games from a TV standpoint this week. But it's the best place to go watch football is at the Rose Bowl.
Have you ever been in a situation like LSU is right now, where they're kind of having to hole up in Houston and kind of move everything away from home? Have you ever been had to coach in a situation?
No,
like
I haven't. And we actually had the TV on in the locker room on the way out here. First off, our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Louisiana, and it's a lot bigger than football. What they're going through. And they experienced Katrina 16 years ago, and this storm is as big as Katrina. So we hope everybody's safe down there. And I feel for Coach O and the team. They moved, but they had to leave their families back there. So that's a difficult situation for anybody to be put in. So our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Louisiana that's dealing with this storm right now.
You're planning to. Sorry.
Where'd the concept, or whose idea was it to come up with the graduate little patch on the uniform?
We had talked about that in the league a couple years ago, so it's just, it's something we're really proud of here. I think we have 18 graduates, 16 of them are in grad school, so it's the reason you go to college. It's about being a student athlete, and that's not an oxymoron. And we're really proud of what our kids have done in the classroom, and the fact that a bunch of them have earned degrees. You have a kid in Chase Griffin who earned a degree in 2.5 years, which is kind of unheard of. He's enrolled in grad school, so we're just proud of those guys, and it's something that we want to make sure everybody understood that when you come here, it's about graduating, and those guys did it, so they've earned it. That's not something that you just put on there just because you feel like it. It's something that they earned, and I think they were all proud to represent UCLA as a graduate in their first game against Hawaii. So.
How different is it coaching such a mature team like this, in terms of being able to communicate with them, getting across things, understanding what you're trying to get?
It's fun, to be honest with you. I think we've got a great mix, and I think the young kids have done a really good job of intermingling with the older guys, but the older guys make it easy on them because I think they're empathetic to where they started. They know what it's like to be a freshman, but we've got some really good role models in the older players that we have here that can show kids how to do things the right way, not only here on the practice field, but obviously from, as we talked about, the graduate standpoint in the classroom too. So we got a lot of really good role models in our older kids, and that makes our job as coaches 1,000% easier, to be honest with you.
I know you watched game film yesterday to kind of get some details. From our standpoint of going back and watching the game a couple more times, the running game looked really good, but the offensive line looked dominating. I mean, there were some holes some of us might have been able to run through. What's your assessment of the offensive line?
You're sizing each one of us up.
Sizing us up.
I thought our O-line did a really nice job. Some guys got more extensive playing time. Neo, getting his first real quality snaps. New guys played a lot for us, but not in the role that he was in the other day. Obviously, I think Sean and Alec and John have gotten older. Paul's got me another year of experience, so we were just happy with kind of their production. But like anything, when you watch the film as a coach and as a player, there's a million things that we need to clean up and fix. And then obviously it's gonna take a step up this week. In terms of our opponent playing a Power 5 opponent, not playing a Group of 5 opponent. So it's going to step up a little bit, but for a start, it was good. You really don't know what you have. You think you have an idea, I think, in where you are, but you don't know until you play somebody. And it was fortunate for us. We got to get a lot of guys in. So a lot of guys got actual game footage and game time. And there's a lot of really good film for us to teach off of. But we were pleased with how the O-line played on Saturday. So.
I saw that side eye there.
What's that?
I saw you looking at me when you were looking around.
I was looking at the whole group.
Okay.
I didn't get everybody.
I
That's right.
You're playing a team that's 2 years removed from a national title, but last year they went 5-5. I mean, obviously they lost a lot of guys, but as you kind of assess the film of them last year, what did you see kind of the difference between that national title team and the team of last year?
You know, and it's what happens in all of college football. It's a yearly deal. It's very tough to sustain, and there was a bunch of guys and a bunch of draft picks. You know, the number one pick in the draft, and Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase didn't play. And he got drafted really high this year. Justin Jefferson was probably the top receiver in the NFL last year as a rookie. So there was a lot of really good players. I think the other thing that Coach O dealt with is there was turnover on the staff, so there was new coordinators on each side of the ball. So they started off a little, not probably the way they wanted to, but they actually finished strong. And going with the Ben Bolch factor, they won their last 2 games. So they're on a high note from a momentum standpoint heading into this season. So we're really excited about the challenge. It's a really good football team that is going to have talent at every step of the way, whether it's at wideouts, at running back, offensive line. You know, the defensive guys can really run around. They have probably the 2 of the best corners that we'll see. The 2 of them combined will be the best group of corners that we play this season. So we got our hands full. So we're going to have a really good week of preparation for these guys.
How do you prepare for new coordinators? Do you look at LSU film? Do you look at
you look at LSU film to get an understanding what the personnel is like. You know, so you can watch Stingley and Ricks. You don't want to watch Stingley and Ricks play because they're really good. So, but you kind of see where the coordinators came from, you know, and what schemes they were familiar with. It sounds like they're going back to where they were similar work offensively when Joe Brady was there, because the coach they brought in went with Joe was with Joe in the NFL. So, you kind of have an idea, but you have to make adjustments on the run. We had to make adjustments on the run Hawaii game. A lot of things that Hawaii did last year, they weren't doing this year. You know, so you gotta be prepared. You know, you kind of have an idea going into an opener like we did against Hawaii. We think they're going to be like this. We weren't right on everything that we were thinking, but we had to make some in-game adjustments. We probably saw more 4-down defenses from Hawaii than they had played the season before. But that's just part of what's happened. Usually at the beginning of the year, once you get 2 or 3 games in, each team's identity has kind of shows itself, and you get an idea of what they're going to do. So we got to be agile, especially early in the game, and just is what we practiced against and what we thought we were going to get, what we got, and if it's not, then we got to make adjustments on it.
Is there a way? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Is there a way to neutralize a defensive back with Derek Stingley's talent? Is there something you can do to neutralize someone like him?
Not that's legal. No, I mean, he's as good a corner as we'll face, and obviously I think the people at the next level talk about how good a corner he is. Really patient, sharp, he's got great technique, and he's got obviously a skill set that works perfect for that for that position. So as a coach at times when you see someone that talented, you actually kind of admire it. So wow, that's a really good player.
Talked to Zach's high school coach, Zach Strawberry's high school coach.
Charlie,
yeah. He said that you guys recruited him out of Christian, but you recruited him a lot harder out of the transfer portal. Was that because of what he did at Michigan? Was that a change in philosophy of recruiting?
No.
What was the difference?
I don't believe that's the case. You can ask Charlie. I mean, we were there to go see him. We recruited him really hard coming out of high school and wanted him. He was one of our top guys when we were coming out of high school, and then when he put his name back in the portal, and we went after him again. So we swung and missed the first time, and we hit the second time. So.
Just one follow-up, how does that process work with the recruiting portal? How do you guys go about it?
When the name goes in the portal, we do the same exact thing that we do with a high school kid. The first answer at UCLA is he an admittable student? Because it's not fair to the kid or to us to waste our time on why are we going to recruit a kid that we're not going to be able to get into school. So fortunately for us, Zach's an outstanding student. He's actually in the law school of business at Michigan. And we once we cleared that hurdle and knew that it would be a situation where he could get into school, then we got to contact the player. Contacted Charlie, got a great relationship with Charlie, talked to him, kind of get an idea of what he thought, what was Zach's thought process in terms of where we were with the whole thing, and then recruit him like you normally recruit a kid based on what the NCAA rules are, how many contacts you can have, phone calls, all those other things. He couldn't take a visit because we were in that COVID protocol period. So, but I think he knew enough about the school. He's got some teammates here, played with Shea Pitts, knows Bo. There was a familiarity with him, so we were just real happy that we get a chance to get him.
You were talking about how much fun it is to have so many veteran guys on this team. There was that play, incompletion on the sideline with Q Lake. You're trying to swat the ball out of his hands. What went down on that? You say anything to him, and how fun is that having a relationship with him?
Anytime you have an opportunity to practice ball security, you do it. So just making sure you hit the ball right.
All right, good.
Hey, on kind of an inane question. This morning, someone on his radio show, someone who we will describe as the father of your wide receivers coach, took umbrage with the attire of the coaching staff on Saturday. He said he was looking at too many old man knees on the sidelines. You have any thoughts on the attire and former coach Neuheisel's assessment?
We modeled it after his golfing attire. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.